Hi, this is Charlie giving you Wednesday's video. I hope you're very well. Just so you know, there will be no live trading video on Friday because Kim and I are down at the Forex show in London. Um, Trend versus counter trend, which way is best? And it just came up because a comment that was put onto the YouTube channel last week, and you think, oh yeah, it's a good subject here because lots of people like to think, oh, the only way is to trade in direction of the trend, and that's not necessarily correct. So let me explain. So looking at the chart here, this is a chart of, as you can see, dollar CAD. You would, if I said to you, right down here in the hard right corner, right, I'm going to go long, I'm looking to go long, you would say, Charlie, that's counter trend, wouldn't you? Yes, you would. And I would as well. If I didn't have any other information, I'd say, yeah, that's counter trend. However, if I now switch to a different time frame, that's that very same piece of information that we just saw on the daily charts. I've now switched to a monthly chart. You would say, oh, okay, well, it's just a 3-bar down. Its price has come down into prior highs as support zone. And nothing's ever pinpoint exact, but yes, it's come down into prior high support zone. It's come into my 20-month moving average down here, so the overall trend is up. This is just a pullback, and so now I would say there's a different context there. If I always say to people, don't worry that the fact it's a monthly chart. If you were looking at this, because a lot of people are shorter term traders, and you said, and this was an hourly chart, and you saw this hourly chart, a lot of people would say, oh, that might be a buying opportunity in this zone as it's broken out, pulled back into this prior what were prior highs and as potential now support plus moving average support if you use moving averages, whatever, you could put fibs on there, it doesn't make any difference. Most people would be looking at that saying, nice uptrend, pullback, right, buying opportunity. Okay, so when it comes to trend versus counter trend, it really does come down to context. There's no point in talking about a trend versus counter trend if you're not looking at other time frames. So even if you're looking at, even on intraday, for example, what can look like counter trend on a 5-minute chart may be going with trend on an hourly chart or a 4-hourly chart or whatever. So always try to put it into context. And there's an old phrase which says, fade the short-term trend in favor of the long-term trend. And what that's effectively saying is, if the short-term trend is down but the long-term trend is up, then at some point during that short-term trend, whilst it's going down, you want to be a buyer in favor of the long-term trend. And that's not a bad philosophy to have. If you're wanting to be trading trends, and you want to be trading pullbacks, then that's what you do. You change your time frames to get a perspective. Let me give you another example. Actually, before I do that, this was an actual trade that I took with our swing traders. I mean, it's a couple of years ago, but I always like to use this CAD as an example because even at that time with our swing traders, a couple of them were saying, if I go back, there it is. There's a couple of them saying, oh, you can see what happened afterwards. It just started going higher. There we go. Oh, Charlie, I don't know if I'm comfortable going counter trend. And yet the bigger picture, once I'd explained, the bigger picture was up. Let me give you another example. Now here we have a daily chart, and this is of the euro dollar back in January of last year. And many of our swing traders will remember this one. In the euro dollar was overall had been an upwards trend. It broke these highs over here, broke this high, did this pullback over 3 days, and so I used an hourly chart to get long on that, and there was one of our specific setups that we use. So combining the bigger time frame, i.e. the daily charts, which the trend was up on, and then the short-term trend, which obviously on the hourly charts at that time would have been down. I can't go back a year on an hourly chart on this at the moment, but that would have been down. 3 days down, yeah, absolutely. And yet, what happens next? We participated in this nice move to the upside. So again, another example of using time frames, saying don't get caught up in the fact that on the hourly chart that it was all coming down. Yes, well, it's coming down, but we're into support. What from? Prior highs here. So we'd pull back into prior highs, and we had a specific setup which enabled us to take the long down there. So Let's see if we can find another example for you as well. And wow, what a downtrend we're in here. This is a daily chart now, but again, this could be a 5 minute chart for you, but as we can see, it's a daily chart here. But this is a daily chart. What a downwards trend, and yet, if I now switch back and you see the context of this, you'll see that on the monthly chart, all that had happened is on dollar CAD again. Would come down to a first test of a monthly 50 period moving average. Very typical sort of trade. Lots of traders use moving averages as support and resistance. So typical sort of move into a long-term moving average. First test of it in a long time. And again, that's something where we have specific setups and entries based on the smaller time frame. So that smaller time frame looked down because look at this last few months that we've been coming down, and yet there was a key buy zone, not a boy zone, a buy zone. Anyway, a key buy zone. Sorry, the jokes are getting really bad, aren't they? A key buy zone on the smaller time frame. So this is on the monthly. That was on the daily chart, which said monthly we're into support, and on the daily chart we in fact had a specific setup. So the whole point I'm trying to make is use your higher time frames to discern what the overall trend is, and are we just doing a pullback, which is, there we go, which is tradable to the long side again, or vice versa if it's a short. And don't get yourself too blinkered into what you think a trend is, because on one time frame a trend may well look down or up, but on a different time frame it may not. And I think the main point, another key point, is like we always say, you buy support, you sell resistance. So providing you are buying into a support zone or selling into resistance, then a lot of the time you can do quite well. So there you go, there's my points for this week. And trend or counter trend? Well, it's not as cut and dry as you may have thought. Take care for now. See you next.